FPL Game Week 30 transfer tips and wildcard updates. In this video, we're going to be taking you through transfer tips through each and every single position for Game Week 30 and my wildcard update, because I am most likely going to be playing that wildcard and giving you guys an update on players' injuries who have come back from the international break. This is Fantasy Football G. I'm your host, Kat. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back. FPL is just around the corner, and yeah, I want to help you guys. So let's start out with the most important part, because we know about a injury in the forward line, and that is Chris Wood. So what we're going to be doing is, on my right over here, we've got the top 5 fixture ticker. Teams with the best fixtures from Game Week 30 to 33. I've put the form table over here, top 10 for players in form in the actual position, and then over there is basically your predicted points for the game week to see who are the best players to suggest. And then of course on the far end there we have the fixture ticker for Game Week 30. So for Game Week 30, the players who have been in form, we see Ollie Watkins at the top there. He has been performing well along with Aston Villa, doing well in the Champions League as well as in the league as well. He is injured now, still a bit injured, but then I think he will be able to play. There's been no updates, but we should wait for updates in the transfer, in the press conferences coming up this week, along with Strand Larsen as well. I don't think he is a pick for Game Week 30. He was one on the free hit for Game Week 29, but not for Game Week 30. Wissa himself is still an option. I think a lot of people still have him, not just on free hit, but in their actual teams. And you can see he actually is lost on the table on terms of predicted points in the top 5. And then we of course have honorable mention, which is Haaland, who is actually top on predicted points and definitely the best striker to go for this game week in terms of bringing him in. As you can see, he is top on the predicted points, right on top of Isak, who is the number 2 striker, as well as one of the most brought in players for Game Week 30. I feel like because of his fixtures coming up, as you can see again on my left over here, yes, he might be number 5 in terms of teams with the best fixtures, but those fixtures are looking really good, with Brentford at home, Ipswich away, and then 2 home fixtures in the double at Game Week 32. It's a no-brainer. You have to bring him in. Mamouche is a great enabler in terms of if you cannot reach Haaland, because Haaland is of course 2 times his price, but you have to see what the actual player starting 11 is going to be in the fixtures of the FA Cup game week this weekend. So keep an eye out on that. In terms of Mateta and injury, he looks like he's going to be the player a lot of us are going to be bringing in, because Wood has been confirmed to be injured. Not for long term, it is a short term, but then we haven't got an actual proclamation in terms of how long it's going to be. So Mateta is a no-brainer and bringing him in. He definitely will be playing, but hopefully, fingers crossed, he goes unscathed in the FA Cup fixtures as well. And so all I can say, guys, is hold your transfers until those FA Cup fixtures are done. Right behind there is Wissa, and right below Wissa, which you can't see, and I want to have an honorable mention, is Evan Nelson, because they are playing Ipswich. And I think if you are in that dilemma of having Wissa and Evan Nelson, I think I would definitely play Evan Nelson over him. I think Evan Nelson's predicted points were slightly below. I think it was at 4.6. and Wissa's is at 4.8, but I put Evan Nelson above only because they're playing Ipswich at home, of course. So they're also playing in the FA Cup fixtures, and we'll have to keep an eye out on whether or not he plays there, what position he plays. Dango Ouattara is most likely going to be playing because Kirkes is suspended for that FA Cup fixture, so he might play on the left and a lot further back. And if that is the case, then Evan Nelson seems like he will be playing again in that fixture a few days later against Ipswich. So that is the only thing people are kind of thinking about, whether or not Dango Ouattara will make an appearance in that FA Cup fixture, and that could affect Evan Nelson's appearance in the Premier League. Now, that is the forwards addressed. Let us move on to the midfield. And before we do, I would like to ask if you guys can please hit that subscribe button. It really, really would appreciate. I am here for you guys every week, giving you tips on transfers, my transfer plans, and all you need to know on FPL. So please hit that subscribe button so you guys can keep updated. And also, I'm always here for you guys' comments and questions. Please, if you have any questions on anything that I haven't covered, or players that I haven't covered that you would like to know, leave the question in the comment section and I'll be there for you guys. So let's go on to the midfield. And in the midfield, we have in form right below us. Number 1 is Bruno Fernandes. He has been scoring double digits for the past 4 game weeks and also is currently the most brought in player in game week 30 transfers. Right behind him is Ismail Assar as well, been performing really well. My concern is this has been a lot more without Mateta. So I am concerned as to how he'll be performing with Mateta in there. Will he be scoring? I was one of those who brought him in the last time he had a stint of good form and then it just dried out, and I fear that will be the same again. Mo Salah, what is there to say? Break-breaking season in points. Honorable mention is Belgrade in terms of players who still will be having the spotlight. Cunha is also has an extra ban, so he'll only be returning, I believe it is after game week 32. So still in that role, had very good performance in game week 29. Belgrade is a very good cheap option if you're looking for an enabler. Yeah, now going in terms of who, of course, is the predicted points, which is going to be the debate of all when it comes to captaincy. Mo Salah is at the top there with 8.4 for the game week, of course, playing against Everton at home. Right behind him is Cole Palmer. And what is the case with Cole Palmer? Well, he's had a second scan. There's just been no update as to what the scans are actually revealing. If you ask me, in my opinion, do I think he's going to play? I think Cole Palmer, having had this break in the international, having had the scans, I think he's had enough time to actually have a break. I think if you hear that he has been training, then he most likely will definitely play, in my opinion. I do believe they, of course, will be focusing on the European fixtures that coming up in the week. On Thursdays for them, not this week, the next week, of course, I believe. So I would believe that he would be playing, if you ask me, because in the end of the day, they still need to try and make third to Champions League. The other player that Chelsea that can really affect Cole Palmer's performance that is back is Nico Jackson. He's just not somebody worth mentioning in the strikers section. But if he is back and so is Cole Palmer back, then I think a lot of people would most likely be holding on Cole Palmer. I certainly would suggest that you do that. Their fixtures are not entirely that bad. They do have Ipswich coming up as well, so that would be a very good entry point if you do want to bring in Nico Jackson to complement Cole Palmer as well. Underneath there on number 3 in terms of predicted points is Semenyo, interestingly above Clifford, who is just slightly below there on number 6, where you can't see here as the top 5 predicted points. But I think this is really coming more so from the Fantasy Football Hub's AI favoring Semenyo more so because of his participation, his minutes, and of course shots at goal. So it is Ipswich. I still think that actually Clifford is above Semenyo. I would actually suggest you guys go for Clifford first. Most likely would still be on penalties regardless of Evan Olsen being back. But if you are looking for a second midfielder, cheaper as well, entry point to Bournemouth against Ipswich, then Semenyo definitely is that guy for you. Same thing with Ismail Assar. I actually would suggest Eze above Ismail Assar. Very much the same thing. He is a cheaper option. I just don't believe Ismail Assar will really do it or continue to perform the way he has. He's done this before in the season where he has those 1-2 games, and I feel like it's just late. It's late now. We missed it. Let's just carry on without him. I think bring in Isak. Not Isak, sorry. I keep saying Isak. Jeez. Bring in Eze rather than Sa if you've got the money. If you don't, in all honesty, I wouldn't bother. I think he's really going to disappoint you guys. And hey, that's my opinion, and you guys can choose whether or not to go with it. But just to, relieve you of stress that I had, yeah, don't go for Saar. Savinho, then, interesting pick for the Man City midfield, and I think that's really the question we all ask is, we all know who are the two Man City assets that we definitely want to go for, which is a Gvardiol and a Haaland, but who is the third one? And is debate really with Mamouche, of course, and Savinho, who has really good minutes, but in the end of the day, whether it's Savinho or Mamouche, it's always going to be a question of minutes. And I think coming into this game week, we have to see what those starting 11 is and minutes played in the actual FA Cup for us to determine. And I think if Mamouche doesn't play a considerable amount of minutes in that FA Cup tie, then I think he's the guy to go for as a third asset for Man City. I do put him above everybody else in general, but I think straight after him, you can definitely go for a Savinho, who I think is also a bit more locked in for minutes there when it comes to attacking players. I'm just not necessarily for Foden. He hasn't been performing even internationally. Kevin De Bruyne as well, I think, will definitely make an appearance in the FA Cup. It seems like that has been his competition where he gets his minutes. He did perform as well in the international break very well, but I just don't see him in the Premier League predominantly starting or playing a huge role there. So that's the midfield there. I just want to also take some time there to say, guys, honestly, if you're still with me, then hit that subscribe button. Really, really would appreciate it. Really goes a long way in supporting the channel. And thank you so much for being here. What I'm going to do is still go through my wildcard update to show you guys basically how I've put this into a team. So yeah, stick around. But while if you're still here and you're loving the content, then hit that subscribe button. Really would appreciate it. Now, in the defense, starting off with the defenders that are in form, Cucurella, another player who's been performing exceptionally, 2 double-digit games, of course, double-digit game weeks, of course, in those 2 easy fixtures. I think he's definitely somebody to consider. Chelsea's defense hasn't necessarily been all the best, but they have been keeping the scores very low, even keeping Arsenal a bit quiet as well. Right after him is Mings there with Aston Villa, who again, I myself am not really sure when it comes defensively, but they have surprised us in getting another clean sheet. So their squad is somewhat a lot more fit when it comes to the midfield. Kamara's back as well. We need to see and hear about Amadou Onana as well. But with Kamara back, I do feel like that's where the actual reinforcement in terms of defense is back. And then O'Brien there coming in with in third in the actual form table, right above Mikalenkovic, who had a very great game week 29. I think, of course, when it comes to Nottingham Forest, defensively they are above Everton, but we can't ignore that Everton has gone unbeaten for I think the last 7 or 8 matches. So I think that's where O'Brien creeps in there. Very affordable, 4.5 as well. Mikalenko injured, he's definitely a player which you can actually bring in there. Now, looking at the predicted points, of course, at the top there, you've got Gvardiol, which is another player I think on wildcard a lot of players will be bringing in because of this fixture against Leicester, who have been failing to really score, and as well as the fact that Man City have some good fixtures themselves that I think are really in their favor. They are 4th on the fixture ticker here when it comes to the top 5 best, playing Leicester at home, Manchester United away, Crystal Palace at home, and then potential double, of course, in game week 33 there with Everton and Aston Villa. So I think that's a really good fixture run there for you to be able to bring Gvardiol, but there has been injury concern with Gvardiol, so it is another matter of seeing if he makes an appearance in that FA Cup. In my opinion, it wasn't necessarily on TV in the sense that he went down, because he did go down and then he came back into for the second half, and he played the second half as well. Of course, they went to extra time. We saw that game, but then he went off in the 90th minute. So he was still able to play through. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't necessarily make a full appearance in the FA Cup, and then plays in the actual Premier League. So we will have to see that and see what news we can get from Pep. Hopefully he can give us something. Gabriel there, coming in number 2, 5.3 predicted points. Of course, Arsenal's right now looks at the top of the fixture ticket with the best fixtures from game week 30 to 33. No brainer in all honesty. Ben White is back, so that kind of brings a bit of doubt on Timber, who is a very great enabler there with 5.6 million price. So I think when it comes to Arsenal defense, it's either, if you don't have Gabriel, you can go for him. He is a bit pricey, of course. Saliba, I think, is definitely the next guy who's best, but I wouldn't necessarily go for Timber just because of Ben White being back, having had a rest. Timber himself as well, he had to report back because of an illness, and he was asked not to necessarily come into the camp straight away, just so that illness doesn't spread. So Ben White could actually be making an appearance, but I'm sure Timber would have had enough time to recover by Tuesday. But the thing is, it's a doubt, you know. Munoz, coming in number 3 in predicted points. I think those top 3 is definitely the 3 that we should be playing on our team, because a lot of us should have Munoz by now. 16% ownership, very low, but if you don't have him, I would definitely be bringing him now, because he does have that double game week confirmed in game week 32. It is a tough one, but he has a great fixture right now, so this is a great entry point with Southampton if you are thinking about bringing in a cheaper defender as opposed to the top 2 over there. So he is, along with Mateta, the definite 2 assets that you'd be bringing in. A third asset, you can decide whether or not that is Eze or Ismail Assar. We've touched on Saliba, we've touched on Timber. I think we're just going to mention a quick honorable mention on Liverpool's defense there. Konate seems to have also had a little bit of an injury knock. No information there, but he himself as well. We have to wait and get some news on him. He is a nice entry point into that Liverpool defense. So I have definitely been considering him, but a cheap option there is Kwanzaa, who has been filling in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who himself won't be playing as well, definitely in game week 30. But is hopeful that he'll return before the end of the season, and we're still waiting for more information there. Connor Bradley is also not available still, didn't also participate in the international break. So if you're looking for a cheap enabler there for the Liverpool defense, then Kwanzaa is definitely, seems like he's an option. But wait to hear about Konate and see whether or not it is a viable way to get into that defense there. Mikalenko, as I mentioned, is injured as well. Just trying to think who in common. Yeah, I think that's it when it comes to the defense. Again, leave your questions in the comment section if there's anything I missed out or you would love to know. Let us move on to the goalkeepers real quick, and then we will go on to my wildcard updates, quite frankly. So goalkeepers in form, of course, it is Henderson, who has been getting clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet with Crystal Palace. He is a 10 out of 10, which is honestly miraculous. Olsen there, who had been filling in for Martinez as well. So I wouldn't necessarily go there, of course, because Martinez is back. He has been performing in the actual international break as well, beating Brazil. And then we have Leno there, who will be playing Arsenal, who I just don't think, of course, is a viable option. Their fixtures, Fulham have the worst fixtures going into this run right now till the end of the season. So I definitely wouldn't be going in there. Of course, for me, I think the honorable mention here that is not on the form, that is lower down on the form table, is a Metzels, who has been the player with the most points and the defense, which has been really good. I think their fixtures are okay, not necessarily bad, but he is a very nice cheaper option than a lot of the other cheap guys who aren't necessarily that great. So when it comes to the predicted points for this game week, David Raya at the top there with 4.6. I do think that Fulham having the game in the weekend and then having to play on Tuesday is a very tight, quick turnaround. I think that gives Arsenal a huge advantage, especially defensive. They do have all their players back. So I think you can expect a good clean sheet there. Henderson there as well, another guy I think most likely a clean sheet for them as well. So I could definitely look at bringing him in if you're looking for a cheaper option. 4.6, really great. And then we've of course got Kepa there as well at 4.6 in terms of price. Another predicted one playing Ipswich, and then of course we have Alisson Becker below there, 3.8 predicted points. He just had to follow protocols in terms of concussion, so that's why he reported back after exiting the first game with Brazil. He did say eventually on socials that he is okay. So I do assume that he will be playing against Everton at Anfield on Wednesday. So yeah, nothing to worry about there. Onana, I just feel like the fixtures are not necessarily all that great, so I wouldn't really consider him, in all honesty. So that is the goalkeepers, and yeah, let us move on to the wild card. Yeah. My wild card revealing. All right, let's go through it. Let us go through it. I just thought, let me just bring it all up same time. And we're going to start off in goals. Of course, we got Alisson Becker along there with Valdemarson, who for me is really an enabler. Alisson, looking at him to being my keeper really for the rest of the season. I mean, of course, things can change. I'm not a person who necessarily sticks to things. I'm very flexible. But I think his fixtures are all right, necessarily considering that they're also not playing in other competitions. It's a no-brainer for me. And then, sorry, I just hit my mic there. And then in the defense, the 5, I've got Kirkes, I've got Munoz, Gvardiol, Byrne, and Aït-Nouri. As I mentioned before, I'll have to be waiting on news when it comes to Gvardiol because of that injury. But I honestly think that he'll be all right and most likely will actually make an appearance in that FA Cup as well. Just hoping that he actually makes an appearance in that Leicester game on Wednesday. So yeah, could be too much of a tight turnaround for him, but in terms of minutes, he definitely always plays as well. So that is the only competition that they're in anyway. So I think he'll be fine. I really think he'll be fine. Yeah, and then when it comes to the midfield, I've got Kluivert, Mo Salah, Jacob Murphy, Eze, and Semenyo. I think you can see they're really targeting the bottom teams there with that those teams. Gordon in the midfield, I think a great time to mention him. He does have an injury, and it seems like he will be out for game week 30. There is no other further development on that, but he's definitely not in for game week 30. I think we'll get some more news in a press conference for the game week once we get those as well. But I think you can safely say that the best option here is if you're looking for a good enabler, Jacob Murphy, who is short in 4 minutes. Barnes, the only concern reason why I'm not considering him is we don't know much yet about Jordan's injury to see how long he's going to be out. So in terms of minutes, we could probably see him just jump right back in once he's available, and that could be like in a game week or so. And I don't want to be having to waste a transfer on him, considering that they're going to be doubling as well. So rather put it on Jacob. Yeah, just allow me to spread my money as well, as you can see, which is what I did in the actual strike force, having Haaland, Isak, and Mateta there. This is an older screenshot. Mateta is not flagged anymore. So yeah, I think you'll notice no Cole Palmer on this wild card. So So with my strategy, this is where this wildcard is also coming from. It's wildcard now and then free hit in the big double game week. And I say big double game week and not necessarily game week 33 because we don't know if that is necessarily going to be it. And I think that's why I'm able to wildcard right now, is because I'm not holding my other chips. Whereas I understand a lot of people are still holding their assistant manager chips and they're kind of thinking to themselves, yo, I need to know exactly what's going on, because with this assistant manager, I need to figure out, am I using that AM chip now, or am I using the bench boost in game week 33? Therefore, I want to use the wild card in game week 31. So it really is team dependent, but I think for those who don't have the assistant manager chip, I think it's a lot more easier, because it's a chip that's really making things tricky for people who have to spread their chips out, because that assistant manager is over 3 game weeks where you can't play another chip. So it's making it a lot tougher for players, FPL managers right now, and I'm really glad I actually played it when I did, and did really well, considering 56 points as well. So yeah, I'm happy with it at the moment. What I have been thinking about, of course, is, you know, Arsenal players. Do I want to bring in Arsenal players? They're the top at the fixture ticker. I'm just trying to see as well if I can maneuver game week 34. That's my other thing. And so with Arsenal players so far most likely not playing in game week 34, yeah, and this is why for me I'm still going to be waiting for that information and seeing who makes it through on the FA Cup. But even the way the team is structured right now is sort of making assumptions that Bournemouth doesn't make it. And so with that, you know, of course, I've got a lot of cover for game week 34. I can definitely maneuver it. But with my free hit, and again, looking at where the big double game week is going to be as well, I'm still have that safety net of the free hit and being able to use it and do different things on the sides of the actual free hits as well. So, yeah, and what I love to do with a wild card as well is sort of try and make it a wild card where it's not just a long-term type of a thing, but even short-term. And so setting up the team in such a way where I'm going to be able to get gains right now in the very next fixture and the next couple of fixtures as well. And I think a lot of the time we set up our wild cards for the long run. And so I try to do it also as a free hit, in the sense of like, cool, what are the best fixtures right now? And as you can see, I got 3 people playing against Southampton, 3 people playing against Ipswich, and 2 people playing against Leicester. So yeah, that's the wildcard update. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Would really love to get your guys' comments and questions as well. Most importantly, what updates do you want to know about injury tips, transfer tips? Are you thinking? What's your dilemmas as well? Drop it all in the comment section. And of course, remember, most importantly, please subscribe. I would love to hear from you guys and see you guys in the next video. Peace.